Summary. A Letter to God is a short story by Gregorio Lopez Y. Fuentes that revolves around a poor farmer named Lencho. Lencho depends on his crops for survival, but a destructive hailstorm ruins his entire harvest. Desperate and in need of help, Lencho decides to write a letter to God, seeking financial assistance. In the letter, Lencho expresses his unwavering faith in God and describes the dire situation he is facing. He asks for a specific amount of money to recover from the damage caused by the hailstorm. Lencho then takes the letter to the post office and sends it, hoping it will reach God. At the post office, the skeptical postmaster and his employees find amusement in Lencho's belief that God will receive and respond to the letter. The postmaster decides to collect money from his colleagues to help Lencho. They gather an amount they consider appropriate and send it back to Lencho in a letter. When Lencho receives the response, he eagerly opens it with anticipation. However, upon finding an insufficient amount of money, Lencho becomes disappointed. He believes that the post office employees must have taken the rest of the money. In frustration, he writes another letter to God, expressing his disappointment and asking for the remaining amount. Touched by Lencho's faith and sincerity, the postmaster and his colleagues are moved to help him further. They decide to contribute more money from their own pockets to fulfill Lencho's request. They send a second letter to Lencho, containing the additional money. When Lencho receives the second letter, he is filled with gratitude and believes that God has answered his prayers. He thanks God for the generous response and expresses his unwavering faith in God's benevolence. The story emphasizes the themes of faith, humanity, and the power of belief. It showcases how even in the face of adversity, one's faith can inspire acts of kindness and compassion in others. A Letter to God highlights the importance of trust and the ability of individuals to find hope and solace in their faith. Certainly. Here are the key points of the story A Letter to God. 1. Lencho, a poor farmer, suffers a devastating loss when a hailstorm destroys his crops. 2. In desperation, Lencho decides to write a letter to God, seeking financial assistance. 3. Lencho expresses his unwavering faith in God and describes his dire situation in the letter. 4. He addresses the letter to God and takes it to the post office, hoping it will reach its intended recipient. 5. The skeptical postmaster and his colleagues find amusement in Lencho's belief that God will respond to the letter. 6. The postmaster collects money from his colleagues and sends a response to Lencho. 7. Lencho eagerly opens the letter but is disappointed to find an insufficient amount of money. 8. Believing that the post office employees took the rest of the money, Lencho writes another letter expressing his disappointment and asking for the remaining amount. 9. Touched by Lencho's faith, the postmaster and his colleagues decide to contribute more money from their own pockets. 10. They send a second letter to Lencho containing the additional money. 11. Lencho receives the second letter with gratitude and believes that God has answered his prayers. 12. He expresses his thanks to God and reaffirms his unwavering faith in God's benevolence. These key points highlight the main events and themes of the story A Letter to God.